Hi, Assassins. I'm Brooke.
And I'm Cami.
Welcome to Bookish Realms.
We're just two girls who can't stop talking about fantasy books.
Welcome to our deep dives of Queen of Shadows. This episode covers chapters 28 through 32 of Queen of Shadows. Like in past episodes, the chapter summaries and character discussion are spoiler-free, but the rest of the pod does include spoilers for all of Throne of Glass. This podcast is for mature audiences only, because girl, I do be cussing. But anyways, Kimmy, take it away, girl.
Let's get into some chapter summaries. As a reminder, this is a non-spoiler section where we summarize the chapters we'll cover in this episode. So if you haven't read the entire series, but you have read chapters 28 through 32 of Queen of Shadows, you can listen to this section. Chapter 28. Rowan finally reunites with Aelin in her apartment and reveals he's stowed away on a ship to get back to her. Aelin gives him some of Sam's old clothes. That was some serious emotional damage there. And Rowan finds a gown he hopes to see her wear someday. He also picks up on Aedian's scent and realizes that Aedian is Gavriel's son. We love a daddy reveal. Then Rowan casually drops that he's already sworn the blood oath to Aelin, and Aedian is not okay with that. Chapter 29. Rowan warns Aelin that Lorcan is now in Aurelia looking for her and the word keys. That night, Aelin and Rowan share a room, and Aelin teases him by wearing a very revealing nightgown. The next morning, Aelin apologizes to Aedian about the blood oath and offers to let him swear it too. Aedian agrees, but only once she is officially crowned Queen of Terrasen. Chapter 30. Dorian, possessed by the Vowed Prince, is in a trophy room filled with crowns of conquered nations. Dorian has fully given in and surrendered control of his body to the Vowed Prince. Chapter 31. Manon is denied access to the Yellowlegs Coven and storms into Duke Parrington's tent, only to witness Kaltain using terrifying shadow fire to torture a soldier. Parrington reveals that the witch matrons, including Manon's grandmother, are working together to create a powerful weapon for his army. Alide returns to her room and finds someone waiting and fears that Vernon plans to use her for breeding. She escapes to the Eyrie and finds Abraxos. He lets her hide under his wing for the night. Chapter 32. Manon catches Alide sneaking around and gives her a task: spy on the Yellowlegs Coven and report back. In exchange, Alide will be protected and can sleep in Manon's room from now on. Alide discovers Vernon assaulting Kaltain and intervenes. She returns to Manon and asks her to get some poison. Alide, what are you planning, girlie?
Welcome to character discussion. This section is split into two parts: quick character summaries and then deeper dives for those characters we learn a little bit more about. Some weeks we may include a golden line for certain characters. Those are just some standout moments that really hit. But as always, this section remains spoiler-free, I promise. Alright, for our short summaries, we have Lorcan, Kaltain, Alide, Manon, and Dorian. Lorcan is 5 centuries old and one of the strongest females in the realm. The only person who is equal to him is our King Rowan. The two of them never have really been good friends, despite being in battles together for Lord knows how fucking long. He is described as having a cold rage and a talent for killing, a gift by Hellas himself. He also always wins no matter the cost. Whether it was battle, riches, or women, Lorcan is not the type to lose. Next up, we have Kaltain. Kaltain is really going through it at Morath, and it honestly really makes me sad. She is described now as small, fragile, ghostly, and almost doll-like. She doesn't talk much, won't fight back, and simply looks empty inside. We find out that she has black shadow fire, which seems not to leave burn marks on people, but does seem to be extremely painful. Next, we have our girl Manon. Manon is simply fed the fuck up with Parrington and Vernon, and simply just Morath as a whole. She is not allowed to see the Yellowlegs witches, which those are the ones that are doing the experiments, and she is honestly not a fan of that. She also finds out that her grandmother is making some sort of killing weapon, but has been keeping her in the dark. Manon doesn't like the fact that she's being left in the dark with so many things, and she's honestly just like really over it, and she's sick of all of the things. And she's like, you know what? I'm just going to start figuring this shit out for myself, which I don't blame her. Next up, we have Alide. Alide senses someone is in her room, who we later find out is Manon, but she goes to the stables because she knows that no one will look for her there. She ends up curling up next to Abraxos, but because of this, Manon catches her and tasks her to find out what is happening in the dungeons. She is nervous as fuck to do that, but she decides to disguise herself as a laundress to get down there. Also, while she was trying to save Kaltain, Vernon mentions the trace of Iron Teeth witches in her blood, which answers the big question on if Vernon actually knew about her heritage while he had her locked up. Lastly, we have our crowned prince Dorian. He, at this point, has forgotten his name completely and is being fully consumed by the Valg. The Valg takes him to some weird crowns from other worlds, and the Valg doesn't really let Dorian out too often. He doesn't remember her name, but he wishes that Aelin would have killed him when she had the chance to. This week, for our deeper dives, we have Aelin, Rowan, and Adian. Let's start with our girl Aelin. First things first, she realizes how much she missed Rowan and simply cannot contain herself. She starts to cry, and Rowan is literally like, "Girl, what are you doing?" One of my favorite parts of this set of chapters is Aelin finally realizing how Rowan is her equal in every way imaginable. She describes him as His Highness, storm-given flesh, eternal strength. These are things that she never has said about Kale, but Rowan is different. She sees him as someone she can fully be herself with because he understands that weight of the world feeling that she has. He can understand her in ways that Kale simply couldn't. This is the first person, outside of Adian really, that Aelin has compared herself to in any way, shape, or form, and this is a new feeling for her. She's not used to being matched up with someone so closely. Even when she's telling Rowan that Kale thinks she is a monster, Rowan literally tells her, "If you are a monster, so am I." This really gives her that reassurance that she needs because Kale was laying it a little thick on our girl. As we all know, one of Aylin's biggest regrets was not letting Sam use her expensive lavender soap. But guess who she does use that soap? Our King Rowan. Not only does she let him use the soap, but she also washes his hair, which is a super intimate gesture. Let's just say she's also slightly fangirling over how hot Rowan is, and she's feeling slightly territorial over him. But I feel her, because why would she not? He's a handsome man. Honestly, only if they made men like that in real life. I wish. But anyways, speaking of a fine, delicious man, let's talk about Rowan. We learned that Rowan gets a haircut, so he now has short hair, no more ponytail for our highness. Rowan comes to Rifthold because he sensed that Lorcan had made the journey over and he feels territorial over Aelin and wants to protect her at all costs. So of course, he makes that trip over. It's so funny though because we learned in his POV that he didn't see Aelin as beautiful when he first met her, that it actually took months for him to see her in that way. Also, funny thing, he is struggling hard in these chapters to keep it together. He's literally saying he is a love-struck fool. He tries to set boundaries with Aelin because he doesn't want people to get the wrong idea of him sleeping in her bed, but he eventually caves. He continues to tell himself these three little things: boundaries, limits, off limits. So let's see how long that lasts, because clearly he's already getting weak in the knees for our girl. Obviously, Rowan knows that something in their dynamic has shifted. He's not exactly sure, but he does know that things are changing. When Aelin left Mistward, he began to have nightmares that Aelin would tell Maeve the location of the word keys to save his life, which honestly would obviously be terrible, and is one of the reasons why he tells Aelin that missing people is a weapon because Maeve will use those that she loves against her. Lastly, our boy is really yapping hard in these sets of chapters, okay? He first sniffs Adian and reveals that he knows that Adian's daddy is one of his cadre, Gavriel. Then he spills the beans on swearing the blood oath to Aelin, which obviously creates some hard feelings for Adian. Literally poor Adian. And it also doesn't help that in this set of chapters, Adian and Rowan are having their Fae territorial male bullshit, and Rowan is revealing all of these things to him. So that is salt on a wound. But anyways, next up, we have Adian. He finds out that Gabriel, who is one of the cadre, is his father. And if you remember in the last set of chapters, Adian is basically drooling over the cadre and talks about how they would tell stories about them over the campfire and how powerful they were. Well, buddy, one of them is your dad, which means you are a legend, I guess, by blood. But once he finds this out, some moments from his childhood start to make more sense. Because Ro, who is Aelin's dad, would train him very hard because obviously his mom knew who the dad was, which means that Ro knew who the daddy was too. Because Ro and Aelin's mother were brother and sister. So, unfortunately for Adian, he also finds out that Rowan already swore the blood oath to Aelin, and as expected, he is pissed off. He says some very hurtful things to Aelin, and Rowan is honestly not a fan of that. And when Aelin gives him the order to stand down, Adian realizes that Aelin basically, quote unquote, controls Rowan, and Adian feels a little uneasy about this. At the end of this chapters, they end up making up, but Adian is still struggling with the fact that Aelin broke a sacred tradition. And that is all for character discussion this week.
Let's explore this world. Here we cover the main world-building elements that come up in chapters 28 through 32. We'll revisit these places and world-building elements in other episodes. For today, this section is not spoiler-free, so if you haven't finished the entire series, please do not continue. But please come back when you have. In this world building section, we are going to cover Shadowfire. The only known wielder of Shadowfire in Throne of Glass is, of course, Kaltain Rompier. Shadowfire appears as a dark, unnatural flame that burns without leaving any physical marks or burns behind. Unlike a normal fire, it does not visibly damage the body. Instead, it attacks from within, causing intense pain that makes the victim feel as though they are being burned alive. Essentially, it's a mind trick. When Manon first witnesses Shadowfire, it appears as black tendrils curling from Kaltain's fingertips and wrapping around a soldier. The soldier being tortured is obviously in pain and begins bleeding from his eyes, nose, and ears, but his skin is untouched. The pain from the Shadowfire seems to imitate the pain of being burned alive, making the body/mind think it's actually happening, but it isn't. Kaltain describes Shadowfire as something that was, quote, always there, asleep, before being awakened and reshaped. Later, in Queen of Shadows, right before Kaltain blows up Morath, we learn that her power was originally a golden flame, not Shadowfire.
This is our analysis and foreshadowing section, which is not spoiler-free. We'll break down parts of the text that tie into or foreshadow future events in the series. If you have not read all of Throne of Glass, please do not continue. Get the hell out of here. Okay, bye. Anyways, previously on Queen of Shadows, Aelin and Aedion reunite and caught up with each other after years apart. A new fight hall called the Pits opened, and Arobin pulled Aelin back by having her fight a Val Commander. In the Pits, Aelin killed the Val Commander, learned prisoners are being experimented on in Morath, and Arobin told her where Sam is buried. Alid realized her witchblood made her vulnerable to Vernon, and that's dangerous. She tried to steal her way out. When Manon caught her, she gave Alid a choice. Does her blood run blue or red? Alid chooses blue and was welcomed into the Blackbeaks. As Aedion recovered, Aelin sent out letters warning Terrason's allies and the Bane. Aedion still wants to swear the blood oath, but doesn't know yet that Rowan already has. Oops. Then the king retaliated by burning the Shadow Market, killing everyone inside. Aelin tracked the Valk commander into the sewers and discovered a word hound, confirming the Valk are building something bigger. Later, Aelin, Aedion, and Nesrin had a rare night out. As they walked home, they ran into a tall, strong female. Welcome back to our story. Well, welcome back to our story, Prince Rowan.
We start chapter 28 with the very emotional, very intense, but so very exciting Aelin and Rowan reunion. Aelin is so overwhelmed to see Rowan again that she is crying and shaking. She asks Rowan how he even found her, and he explains he hid on a ship and then tracked her by her scent. Rowan's main concern is checking that Aelin isn't hurt and that she is safe, which, so cute. You guys know we will fangirl over Aelin and Rowan every time. Aelin wants to tell Rowan everything that's happened since she came back to Rifthold. She realizes how much she's missed him and how good it feels to have him back. Rowan asks why she's crying, and in a true Aelin moment, she replies, I'm crying because you smell so rutting bad that my eyes are watering. This makes Rowan crack up and breaks the emotional intensity of the moment. Still, Aelin stays close to him, clearly still trying to process that he's actually here. Rowan clocks Aedion and Nesrin at the end of the alley. Rowan and Aedion have an intense, silent stare-off. Very dramatic and very boy of them. Actually, it's very territorial fey male of them, which Aelin thinks, and she tells them that they need to get inside. Nesrin heads off. She's like, I do not want to be in the middle of this drama, because Nesrin is our drama-free queen. She has no time for any of that.
Aedion leads them back into Aelin's apartment. Rowan is on high alert, and Aelin notices that he seems to be monitoring their surroundings. They do make it to the apartment, and Aelin's introduction is quick. Quote, Aedion, meet Rowan. Rowan, meet Aedion. His Highness needs a bath or I'll vomit if I have to sit next to him for more than a minute. And I just like, their whole sequence in this like first set of chapters of this section is hilarious. And then she just drags Rowan into her room and closes the door. And like, honestly, like, I don't blame her. I would be wanting to climb him like a tree too. But anyways, then things like immediately feel different between Aelin and Rowan. Quote, the space between them went taut, every inch of it crackling like a fire. You will hear this a lot from us as we cover this book, but one of the most delicious things about Queen of Shadows is the tension between two of them. It's the tension. The slow burn and lead up is perfect, and we love it because, like, remember, they don't actually like fuck for the first time until Empire of Storms when they're on that beach. That sounds like my worst nightmare, but
I don't know why we did that on the beach.
No.
It was so unnecessary.
No. I simply cannot. I cannot. There were so many other times that y'all could have done this, and you waited till you're on a beach.
It wasn't good.
No. No.
I'll be the first to say it. I did not like it.
No, me either. Rowan tells Aelin to take off her hood, and their usual teasing and banter returns. Rowan has cut his hair short, which Aelin thinks makes him look younger and more handsome. Honestly, so glad when... Oh, I'm so sorry. My oven preheated. I'm making cookies. You should keep that in there because you know what? We have lives, okay? Honestly, so glad when the haircut happened. I just could not get behind the long silver hair. I'm not a fan of that. I have long hair. I don't want my man to have long hair. I want you to have short hair, please. And then Rowan walks around Aelin's room, noticing all her luxury goods.
But even when they're joking, there is something deeper there. They're taking each other in, noticing what's changed, but also slowly realizing that their dynamic feels different. Quote, though it was a face she'd memorized, a face that had haunted her dreams these past few weeks, it was new somehow. And he just looked at her as if he were thinking the same thing. Obviously, they've missed each other and thought about each other. But Rowan being in Rifthold, being there to help and be with her, it just feels different. And it's not just Aelin feeling it, Rowan feels that shift too. Aelin again insists that Rowan takes a bath because he stinks, but she's also trying to keep things light and comfortable. But Rowan tells her to tell him everything. He wants to be caught up and understand what she's been through since they parted ways. Aelin stalls a bit, focusing on getting the bath ready for him. She throws in bath salts and oils, and he jokes that she smelled worse when he first found her in Varys. Varys? We can't remember how to say this. Varys. I think it's Varys.
I think it's the other one. Isn't it Varys? I actually trust your way of saying it more than me because, I just say whatever the fuck rolls off the tongue. So,
yeah. I think it's Varys. Because I think we double checked it in the audiobook. Okay. Guys, if you need to know, it's Varese. Okay, that's all you need to know.
Yeah, honestly, this is our podcast. We can say whatever the fuck we want. Okay, and however we want it. If you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. Aelin tells Rowan to get in the bath. She leaves the bathroom to change her clothes, trying to give Rowan some privacy and clear her mind because she can't help but notice how hot Rowan is. Hot, steamy, spicy. I feel you, sister. She heads back into the bathroom. I'm giving you a lavender soap trigger warning because that's exactly what Aelin hands Rowan. Quote, she mutely handed him her favorite lavender-scented soap, which he sniffed at, sighed in resignation, then began using. Yes, let's talk about the soap. Back in the Assassin's Blade, Aelin got upset with Sam for using her lavender soap and tells him not to do it again. This becomes a source of trauma for Celaena and us, because when she sees Sam's body after his death/torture, one of the first things that she notices is that he smells like cheap soap because, quote, because she was so selfish that she couldn't let him have her lavender soap. So while Aelin doesn't point out that she's letting Rowan use her lavender soap and the fancy bath stuff because of what it means in the context of Sam, we can infer that it's partly because of that. It's so sad.
No, literally. That's why we had the trigger warning, because we know how everyone feels about the lavender soap. It's a sensitive topic for us. But Aelin sits by the tub and tells Rowan almost everything that's happened since they were apart. Rowan listens while washing up. Aelin stops him from using the wrong soap on his hair and picks out a jasmine-scented hair tonic, which is a fancy way of saying shampoo. Aelin fusses over Rowan, and he lets her. But then things get a little more intense when she starts washing his hair for him. Guys, remember, they're just friends. Just in case you forgot, they're just friends. Rowan relaxes into it, and Aelin thinks, quote, washing his hair was intimate, a privilege she doubted he'd ever allowed many people, something she'd never done for anyone else. But lines had always been blurred for them, and neither of them had particularly cared. He'd seen every bare inch of her several times, and she'd seen most of him. They'd shared a bed for months. On top of that, they were Karanam. He'd let her inside his power, past his inner barriers, to where half a thought from her could have shattered his mind. So washing his hair, touching him, it was an intimacy, but it was essential too. Again, they're just friends. They're just friends. But I really do love that Aelin identifies washing Rowan's hair as being a different kind of intimacy. It's not romantic or physical, but it is still super personal and emotional. And in that same thought, Aelin identifies this intimacy between them as a privilege. She understands that it's a sign of trust and vulnerability. Rowan is usually very guarded, as we saw in Air of Fire, but he will allow Aelin to take care of him, and Aelin understands the magnitude of that. Aelin also understands that this moment is representative of their relationship as a whole. She acknowledges that the lines had always been blurred for them. Their relationship has so many angles. They're friends, they're partners, Karnam, bloodsworn, and eventually mates, but, they don't know that yet. We know that, but they don't know that. But all of these aspects of their relationship make it possible for this intimacy to happen. If Rowan can trust Aelin with his power, his mind, then he can also trust her with washing his hair. There's a feeling that for the two of them, this intimacy feels natural but also necessary. There is nothing like weird or awkward in this moment because they've been through so much together. SJM choosing to show us this through the act of hair washing is, one, really sweet, but two, very intentional. For the most part, the only people who wash our hair in a way that feels like this are our parents or spouses. It's easy to connect to this moment as a reader and understand why it feels intimate and important.
Aelin points out that Rowan hasn't said anything about losing his magic. Rowan tells Aelin that just because he hasn't said anything, it doesn't mean it's not impacting him. He admits losing his magic made him physically sick and dulled his senses, but he's dealing with it. Aelin teases him for being grumpy about it, and Rowan calls her a tyrant. This reunion scene is so interesting because they keep going back and forth between deep conversations and trying to keep it light by teasing each other. There is a lot of emotions here. Aelin insists on getting Rowan clean clothes because, to be honest, the ones he wore on that ship fucking reek. They stink. They stink. So she opens a drawer full of Sam's old clothes, the only thing that she can offer Rowan for now. Rowan tells her she doesn't have to give him those clothes, knowing who they belong to and what they mean. Aelin gives Rowan Sam's clothes anyways. Rowan begins exploring Aelin's very expensive closet, pointing out that she has a shit ton of fucking clothes. But Rowan surprises all of us here. He does not tease Aelin about all the clothes. He tells her they're beautiful and that, quote, clothes are weapons too.
Rowan finds a black velvet gown embroidered with a gold dragon and immediately fixates on it. Aelin tells him she bought it when she was 16, but she never wore it because it felt like too much and she didn't feel mature enough. Rowan tells her, quote, "You're not that girl anymore. Someday, I want to see you wear this." That's the exact dress that Aelin wears to meet with Arabin and to get the Amulet of Orinth back. This is also one of the many borderline flirty comments that Rowan makes. He acknowledges that Aelin is a woman now and that he wants to see her in that sexy dress. Okay, Rowan. Okay. Aelin takes this moment to tell Rowan that she missed him, and his reaction is a little weird at first. He tightens his mouth and tells Aelin that they weren't even apart for that long, which he's a fucking liar. But anyway, Aelin realizes that to basically an immortal, which is what Rowan is, a few weeks feel like nothing. But she still pushes. She asks if that means that she's not allowed to miss him.
Rowan replies, quote, I once told you that the people you care about are weapons to be used against you. Missing me was a foolish distraction. Rowan tries to turn this into a lesson, trying to keep his distance emotionally. Because if you remember earlier, his three little words, distance, whatever the fuck the other one was, distance, off limits, something, something. I forgot the other one. Boundaries was the other one. Boundaries, yep. Later in Rowan's POV, we learned that Rowan missed Aelin so much, and he used the first excuse he could to travel to be with her. But Rowan is terrified of those feelings and what they mean. Because also, again, remember, he already had a mate, technically. Like, he thinks he already had a mate at this point, so he's very confused. He has no idea what's happening. So he chooses to try to brush this off. This kind of throws Aelin a little off. She wasn't expecting him to cry or display a ton of emotion, but she wished he missed her even just a little. She gives him Sam's clothes and tells Rowan to get dressed. Rowan gets dressed, but it's a little comical. The pants barely fit him and the shirt is definitely too small. Sam was a human man. This is a man. This is a man, a manly man, okay? Rowan says they need to talk, which makes Aelin a little nervous. Rowan says it's the kind of talk that makes him glad she can't access her firepower right now. So basically that means it's a bad thing. Aelin brings up an incident in Wendelin where she nearly burned down Rowan's former lover because she was messing with Rowan and then threatened Aelin. This is a reference to the Heir of Fire bonus chapter, which we cover in depth in episode 7 of our Heir of Fire deep dives.
Despite them joking around, Aelin can tell there's still something pretty serious that's bothering Rowan, but they decide to talk about it later. They go out into the common area and find Aedion. Aedion immediately starts sizing up Rowan and jokingly tells Aelin that she never mentioned how handsome Rowan is. And okay, we love our bisexual king Aedion. I don't know if you guys remember that, but Aedion is famously bi. Aedion asks Rowan to train with him, saying he wants to learn everything Rowan knows. There is a lot of tension and territorial bullshit between them, and it will only get worse, but it's okay. Rowan responds with, "Whatever my queen wants," and Aedion immediately catches Rowan's use of "my queen," understanding what it means. Again, this is just a battle of dominance between Rowan and Aedion, and Aelin tells him to cut it out and calls it a pissing contest. But Rowan is noticing something else entirely. He asks Aedion who his father is and says he recognizes Aedion's scent. Oh my God, is this Maury? We are about to get a daddy reveal. Gabriel, you are the father! Rowan reveals that Gabriel, one of Maeve's legendary cadre warriors, aka the Lion, is Aedion's father. Aedion is shook, but starts putting things together immediately. He realizes that his mother always refused Fae healers when she was dying because she was scared that Aedion's existence would get back to Maeve and that she'd take Aedion away. Aedion realizes that that's why he's so strong and has those Fae instincts and why Ro trained him so harshly. Aelin tries to reassure Aedion, telling him that Gabriel being his father changes nothing about who Aedion is or what he means to her. But Rowan warns that Maeve could potentially see Aedion as belonging to her through Gabriel's blood oath. Aelin instantly goes into strategy mode and decides that they need to keep this a secret in order to avoid a war with Maeve. Aedion realizes that Aelin would go to war for him if she had to, and it overwhelms him.
Could you imagine finding out who your dad was? Like, there was someone sniffing you.
No, it's literally like, oh my God, you smell like this is your daddy.
Yeah.
What the fuck are we talking about? Like, it's like,
it's crazy.
I know your father.
Gabriel, yeah. Luke, I am your father.
Literally.
I cannot. That is so funny. Oh, I literally can't. Also, like basically first interaction, because the real first interaction they have is like, okay, this is Rowan, this is Aedion, but like genuine words being spoken to each other is like, I know your father.
Wild. Also, proof that Rowan is like Fae in the way that he doesn't know how to socialize. Like, this is not normal, King.
Yeah.
Like, please, like, anything else? How are you? What's up?
Yeah. Have you heard that like TikTok sound where it's like, I love that autistic man?
Literally. Literally.
Oh,
actually.
I literally cannot. Anyways, despite the like Maury daddy reveal, Rowan and Aedion continue to be territorial females, which annoys Aelin. Because if we know one thing, that is one thing she fucking hates. And she simply is like, please fucking stop. Rowan admits that this is a new dynamic and they're gonna have to figure it out. And just when things looked like they were gonna settle down, Aedion has to poke the bear again. He tells Rowan that Aelin didn't mention sending for him. Rowan whips out with, "Does she answer to you, General?" And Aelin snaps at him for trying to start another fight. Unfortunately, the reveals are not done yet. They're not done yet, because again, Rowan is being a yapper in this set of chapters. Rowan decides that this is the perfect moment to say, quote, "I'm bloodsworn to you," which means several things, one of which being that I don't particularly care for the questioning of others, even your cousin. Great. Wonderful. Perfect. Just the way for Aedion to find out that the blood oath he's been waiting to take his whole life is literally given to Rowan. Aedion immediately starts crashing out, and he cannot believe Rowan has taken his blood oath. Like, could you imagine? First you find out who your daddy is, okay? And then like your whole world is literally crumbling. It's literally crumbling. And Aelin tries to like remain steady, explaining that like, yes, Rowan did swear the blood oath to her before she left Wendelin. And Aedion literally like, he just simply is still crashing out. Like, he cannot believe what is happening. Aelin tries to explain by saying that as far as she knew, Aedion was loyally serving the king, okay? She might never see him again. Like, she didn't know what the fuck was going on, right? But Aedion isn't taking these excuses because Aelin literally lied to his face about it earlier. Because if you remember, last episode, we were talking about how she felt sick and guilty for not telling him. But anyways, he is pissed and almost destroys one of Aelin's porcelain figurines. Aelin shuts it down because she is a trinket girl, just like Cami. But she does say that if he breaks anything, she'll shove the shards down his throat. So.
It's like Aedion's worst day of his life.
like terrible. It's not even like a day. It's literally like a 5-minute span.
Literally. Really not good. But still, Aedion pushes. He asks Aelin how she dared let Rowan take the blood oath that was meant to be his. Aelin replies, quote, I dare because it is my blood to give away. I dare because you did not exist for me then. Even if neither of you had taken it yet, I would still give it to him because he is my Karanam, and he has earned my unquestioning loyalty. You guys know, our girl hates having to justify herself or explain her plans. But this moment is about a lot more than just a blood oath. Aelin needs Aedion to get one thing straight about who she is and what she values most, which is choice. Aelin does not owe anything to anyone, not even Aedion. Aelin clarifies that it's her blood to give away, and I legit wanted her to get up and clap for our girl. Aelin has spent most of her life having her choices, her body, her identity, and her future controlled by other people. To be Terrasen's queen, she has to reclaim ownership over herself. From the beginning, we as readers can see that the blood oath is something that Aedion sees as being promised to him, as a tradition, but Aelin does not view it that way. The blood oath is not an heirloom to give away, it's something that has to be earned. That's why she tells Aedion that he did not exist for her then. During Heir of Fire, Rowan was the person beside her while she was rebuilding herself from the ground up. Aedion was a memory. Rowan was physically there, surviving it with her. Plus, Rowan is also Aelin's Karanam. The blood oath isn't the only way that they're bonded. They're bonded through the magic that they share. There's so much more to it than Aedion can see or understand, even though we understand his reaction. But Rowan has earned Aelin's trust and unquestioning loyalty, and right now, Aelin knows Rowan better than she knows Aedion. And I know that hurts for him to understand, but it is just the truth. Rowan and Aelin, they're like this. Rowan and Aedion, they're getting there. But honestly, he takes so many L's in this book and all the other he is not my favorite.
Yeah. I think also, I think I talk about this a little bit later, and I don't know if this is actually in here, but I feel like with them, it's more of like a sibling thing where it's like, you're going to love your siblings, right? Like, you're going to love them always, but sometimes you just are going to be closer to other people, and that's okay. You know, like, you're still going to always have that love for them, and you're still going to always take down the world for them, but you're going to have somebody that's deeper, you know? I don't know. It's just on different levels. But also, doesn't Aedion, think that, they were gonna get, married at some point or something? Because, incest was, a thing back then.
Yes, and we've talked about it in other, deep dives. I forget which book. I think it came up in, Heir of Fire, but, I guess when they were kids, it was something that, everyone talked about. But, they're cousins.
Yeah.
Fully, they're cousins.
Yeah. It's
That's
literally
fucking
giving
weird.
I know you don't watch Game of Thrones, so it's my Game of Thrones people. It's literally giving the Targaryens. This is literally a Targaryen situation. So Aedion, he's getting a little nasty, This is when Aedion starts taking those L's we keep talking about, and he will continue to keep taking them, okay? He says, quote, and what about our unquestioning loyalty? What have you done to earn that? What have you done to save our people since you've returned? Were you ever going to tell me about the blood oath, or was that just another of your many lies? Buddy, why would you do that? Why would you say that? Aedion's anger is honestly understandable, but he is lashing out and just being cruel. It's one thing to be upset, but to be cruel and upset is just no, we don't stand for that. Okay. He is taking Aelin's biggest insecurities and honestly throwing them in her face also, which big no. Aedion knows that Aelin carries so much guilt about Terrasen, about disappearing, about not being able to save her people. And if Aedion were being rational, he would be able to see that Aelin has been working to save Terrasen. But Aedion isn't just mad about the blood oath in this moment, and we all know that. Aedion has gotten more and more frustrated with Aelin keeping her plans close to her chest, and the blood oath situation has officially pushed him over the edge. It is like the cherry on the top. And he even accuses her of lying. If there's one thing about Aelin, she is not a liar. She may withhold information, but it'll all come to light later. And so, Aedion weaponizes loyalty here. He throws it in her face that Aelin hasn't done anything to earn Terrasen's unquestioning loyalty. The reality is that Aedion is hurt. He doesn't mean these things. He feels replaced. The role he spent his entire life wanting and preparing for is gone and taken by Rowan, who is bigger, stronger, and more famous than him. I mean, come on, they were telling stories around campfires around him, like about him and the cadre. But this is also the beginning of a problem that we see with Aedion again and again in the series. Aedion thinks of loyalty as something Aelin owes him and owes Terrasen because of history and blood and lineage, but Aelin views loyalty as something you earn. When Aedion feels upset, he lashes out. He's reactive and often goes for where it will hurt you most. And if you didn't know, Aedion's name is No Idea. It's literally No Idea. And he has no idea. He has no idea what he's doing here, okay? Literally.
None. I will say, I think one of his worst qualities is that he is really immature. Like what he says to Lysandra, he just does this time and time again. And it's not cute, buddy.
Mm-mm.
It's not cute. But Aelin isn't having it. She tells Aedion to get the fuck out and have his temper tantrum somewhere else. Aedion curses at Aelin and basically immediately regrets it, but it's too late. Rowan moves to defend her and she stops him with a single gesture. This sends Aedion into a further spiral because he realizes how connected Aelin and Rowan really are. Aelin tells Aedion to get out again. Aedion is still spiraling about the blood oath, and he's feeling like losing it means that he's lost everything he worked for. Quote, without the blood oath, he was just a general, a landless prince of the Ash River line. To Aedion, he is not just losing the blood oath, he is losing a key piece of who he pictured himself becoming. Aedion storms out, and Aelin doesn't stop him.
Chapter 29 starts in Rowan's POV. This is the first Rowan POV in this book. And oh boy, is Rowan feeling some things, okay? Rowan seriously considers hunting down Aedion after the things he said to Aelin, even though he understands why Aedion is upset. But instead of leaving, Rowan chooses to stay and support Aelin. Aelin is pacing in front of the fireplace, obviously upset about everything that just went down. Rowan quietly watches her from the bed, focused entirely on her. Quote, even without her magic, Aelin was a living wildfire, more so now with the red hair. A creature of such roaring emotion that he could sometimes only watch her and marvel. And her face, that God's damned face. While they'd been in Wendland, it had taken him a while to realize she was beautiful. Months, actually, to really notice it. And for these past few weeks, against his better judgment, he thought often about that face, especially that smart-ass mouth. But he hadn't remembered just how stunning she was until she had taken off her hood earlier. And it struck him stupid. Rowan is swooning. He is swooning. He is so in love. And like, seriously, like Rowan is just feeling like a lot of things. He is feeling a lot of things. And I love the way that he describes her here. Even without her magic, he still sees her for a living wildfire. To him, her power has never just been about the fire. For Rowan, Aelin's power is her presence, her emotions, and who she is. But like we've mentioned before, Rowan doesn't turn away from Aelin's intensity or her emotions. Rowan doesn't think she's too much. He's literally in awe of her and her depth of feeling, which isn't how most people have treated Aelin. We also love that Rowan reveals here that it took him months to realize Aelin is beautiful, because most of the other men in the series notice her looks right away. It's such a good reminder that Rowan and Aelin's bond was built on friendship, trust, and mutual understanding. Rowan also reveals that he's actually missed Aelin quite a bit and thought about her face and her smartass mouth all the time. Sure, Aelin is beautiful, but Rowan missed her wit and how she challenges him constantly. The most important takeaway here is that we know Rowan is very attracted to Aelin. And honestly, like these two are just really down bad for each other. And we love to see it. We love to see it. Rowan's internal thoughts continue. Being apart from Aelin for those weeks reminded him of how lonely and broken he was before she came into his life. After Aelin left, Rowan's nightmares about Lyria came back. They were so bad that he woke up and almost vomited. But being around Aelin again helps keep those memories and fears away.
Rowan jokes about how Aedion's temper tantrum is indicative of the chaos of Aelin's future court, but Aelin is not in the mood for jokes. She admits that she feels crushing pressure to be good and fears that one wrong move or word would destroy everything. People's lives depend on her. Rowan listens and realizes just how heavy all of this responsibility has been for Aelin. Unfortunately, Rowan's reasons for coming to Aurelia are only going to make it worse. However, Rowan decides to offer Aelin the truth. He tells her, quote, you will make mistakes, you will make decisions, and sometimes you will regret those choices. Sometimes there won't be a right choice, just the best of several bad options. I don't need to tell you that you can do this. You know you can. I wouldn't have sworn the blood oath to you if I didn't think you could. And guys, outside of this story, this is really good life advice. It's also exactly what Aelin needs to hear right now, and Rowan knows it. The reality is that Aelin will not be a perfect queen. No one could be. She's going to have to make really difficult choices, and they might not all be right, but being queen means that you make them anyway. Rowan also sweetens this moment by reminding Aelin that he believes in her. Rowan, again, a legendary Fae warrior, believes in her, and Aelin needs to be reminded of that. He's like, you're a baddie, and I'm going to tell you that you're a baddie.
After this, Aelin slides next to Rowan in bed. Quote, she slid onto the bed beside him, her scent caressing him, jasmine and lemon verbena, and crackling embers, elegant, feminine, and utterly wild, warm and steadfast, unbreakably his queen. You guys already know, we always pause and take notes of what character's sense is described, and one of us will eventually do a deep dive episode into all the scents and what they could mean. The scent description for Aelin isn't new. Jasmine, lemon verbena, and crackling embers is consistently how she gets described. However, what is new is how Rowan takes in Aelin's scent. To him, it's elegant, feminine, utterly wild, warm, steadfast, and unbreakable. It is the scent of his fucking queen. Jasmine has a very floral scent, while lemon verbena is citrusy and sharp. Crackling embers is giving bonfire. Honestly, these scents do not go together, but that's okay. It's literally okay.
Literally, I was reading, and I was like, those don't sound like they would go well in a candle, but
No.
okay, that's fine. You know.
Pop off, king. Literally
Yeah.
pop off.
As Rowan breathes Aelin in, he admits to himself that Aelin is unbreakable, except for the weakness they both share, which is the bond between them. He knows that Maeve could easily use their love for each other against them. Rowan is terrified that Aelin would hand over a word key to save him and tries to not think about it being a possibility. Aelin admits that it was easier being alone. She's overwhelmed by having so many people to care about and protect. Rowan has to literally restrain himself from putting his arm around her and holding her close. Internally, Rowan is also majorly struggling with losing his magic and his ability to shift. He feels trapped and off balance without his powers. He also has to fight the feeling of being powerless and reminds himself that he could still fight and protect Aelin if he needed to. Aelin regrets the things that she said to Aedion during their fight, but Rowan reminds her that Aedion said some pretty shitty things back too, so...
Finally, Rowan reveals the reason why he came to Aurelia. Lorcan is here. Bad news. Bad news bears. Guys, we know that this is technically bad news in this moment, but we love him. It's like dun 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 here, but Lord Lorcan Locken. Step to the front, king. Rowan picked up his scent near Mistward and tracked it to the coast, then onto a ship. And when Rowan landed in Otterland, he picked up the trail again. Rowan thinks Lorcan is trying to find Aelin and the word keys because Maeve sent him to do so. And once Lorcan finds them, who knows what he'll do. He'll probably kill them afterward. Yikes. Anyways, Rowan reminds Aelin that Lorcan is very dangerous and very strong. It kills Rowan to admit it, but he doesn't know who will win in a fight between them. Despite that, Rowan still promises, quote, Lorcan makes a move against you and he dies. Aelin begins planning and strategizing immediately, because that's a girl, of course she is. She wonders if they can use Lorcan's expectations against Maeve. Aelin and Rowan also talk about Gabriel and whether Maeve's control over the cadre is strong enough to force Gabriel to hurt his own son. And then it's time for bed, and Aelin basically tells Rowan that he's staying in her room. Quote, just like old times. Remember, these two slept together in the same bed, but remember, just as friends, for most of the second half of Air of Fire. Rowan fights it at first. Since we're in his POV, we see that he's struggling with the tension between them. He tries to insist they need boundaries and brings up how it look. Rowan also casually brings up Kale. He's trying to suss out the situation. Did y'all get back together? Or are you waiting for me or what? I don't know. Aelin tells Rowan that her and Kale are over and that he blamed her for what happened and called her a monster. Rowan immediately realizes how bad that must have hurt. And when Aelin begins to ask if Rowan thinks she is a monster, Rowan cuts her off and says, never, Aelin, never. Which again is exactly what our girl needs to hear.
Rowan continues and we get a mix of his internal thoughts. Quote, "At last she met his stare, with eyes that were too old, too sad, and tired to be 19. It had been a mistake to ever call her a girl, and there were indeed moments when Rowan forgot how young she truly was. The woman before him shouldered burdens that would break the spine of someone 3 times her age. If you're a monster, I'm a monster," he said, with a grin broad enough to show off his elongated canines. I love them. Rowan really sees Aelin, and that has always been so important as their relationship grows. Rowan acknowledges that Aelin's been through too much for someone so young and that there's even more coming their way. Again, it really hits you that Aelin is 19. And she might be 19, and it's easy to forget how old she is, even for Rowan, because she's just been through so much. And while that pains Rowan, he knows that Aelin is so strong. There's things that she's been through that would, quote, break the spine of someone 3 times her age. When he speaks again, he reassures her by saying that if she's a monster, he is too. Basically, we're in this together. It's giving The Notebook also, if you've seen it. If you're a bird, I'm a bird. Aelin laughs it off and tells Rowan to just sleep in her bed. Rowan can't tell her no because he's, quote, such a stupid fool when it came to her. But he tries to get Aelin to understand that it sends a message. This pisses Aelin off. She says, quote, "Oh, and what message does it send? That I'm a whore? As if what I do in the privacy of my own room with my body is anyone's concern." We love these little moments with Aelin because, yes, they are small, but they reveal so much about what kind of woman she is and what kind of queen she will be. Aelin doesn't think that it's anyone's business that Rowan sleeps in her bed, and she fights against the idea that those things should make someone a whore. Aelin believes in body autonomy and that women shouldn't be judged for things like that, and she makes that clear here. If she wants Rowan in her bed, she's going to have him in her bed. Point blank, period. That's her man. That's her mate. It's none of y'all's business. Rowan again tries to argue that things are different now because Aelin is going to take back the throne and they need to think about appearances and politics. Sharing a room could affect how people view her and their relationship. And again, it's Rowan, that's your wife. Just calm down. Calm down. Aelin gets frustrated and tells him that she can protect herself just fine. Rowan agrees and tells her, it's not about how strong you are. It's not about that. Aelin calls this the stupidest argument they've ever had and tells Rowan to get in bed anyway. She is over this back and forth. Internally, though, Rowan is trying to remind himself about boundaries and how Aelin is off limits, but all he can really think about is her hips and how close she is. So,
Period.
Literally,
period. And then we switch into Aelin's POV. She is thinking about how grateful she is that Rowan has never seen her as a monster, no matter how big and out of control her powers were or what she did. And Aelin realizes that Rowan is her equal. He understands her and doesn't judge her. But the wholesome, pure thoughts simply stop there, okay? Because did you guys know that Aelin is evil? She is. And she's about to test Rowan's limits. Rowan's comments earlier about things looking improper are still bouncing around in that little head of hers. Instead of going to bed like a normal person, Aelin changes into a very revealing pink lace nightgown and walks past him. Rowan is shook. He is shaking in his boots. He asks what the hell is she wearing and where the bottoms are of it. And Aelin says there is no bottoms. And period. I love that. She threatens to sleep naked if Rowan has a problem with it. She is loving getting this reaction out of him. I love it. I love it. Even though he's flustered, Rowan tries to keep the conversation away from lingerie. He tells her there's parts of her tattoo that he needs to touch up. This makes Aelin even more committed to getting under his skin because Rowan just isn't as easy to rattle as the other men. This opens up a convo about Rowan's past relationships and how he never seen lingerie because with those women, they were barely any clothing. And okay, Rowan, period. We see you pop off king. Aelin doesn't let up and keeps teasing him about it. She asks Rowan if there's any color he'd like to see her in. And this is how we know Rowan is down so bad because he could have just kept his mouth shut and remembered his little boundaries or whatever the fuck he keeps telling himself. But instead, he says, quote, "Gold, not yellow, real metallic gold." Even though she laughs it off, Aelin does actually end up wearing a metallic gold nightgown for Rowan because she is also down bad. But I think it's funny because in the thing, she's like, "I would never wear such a gaudy thing." which is so funny. But we briefly switch to Rowan's POV. He can't sleep. There's no polite way to put this. Rowan can't sleep because he's so fucking horny. Like, he's so horny. I don't know if you have ever like slept next to somebody and you want to fuck so bad. And, like, you're like, hello, wake up, please. Oh, it's literally me during ovulation. I'm like, tie me to a tree, please, before I freak out.
That's tea.
Yeah.
That's just the truth.
Yeah. We did tell you this was for mature audiences only, so.
Literally mature audiences only. Please. But the next morning, Aelin wakes up and heads to the kitchen. She's thinking about how messy everything's gotten, especially with Lorcan now in the picture. She starts making breakfast when Aedion joins her. Things are tense, but better than the night before. She does, however, make him chop onions, so he is still in the doghouse, I think. Aedion reveals that he stayed on the roof of the apartment all night, keeping watch even though Aelin kicked him out. We get a very brief mention of how Aedion doing this is a, quote, twisty, bendy, old ways manner of warping orders, which came up in Airfire too. Orders have to be specific and exact, or it's easy to find a way around them. Aelin ordered him to get out of the apartment, but she didn't say that he couldn't be on the roof. They both apologize about the things they said to each other. Aelin admits that she should have been honest about Rowan taking the blood oath, especially when Aedion originally brought it up. Aedion tells her that the blood oath was so important to him, especially as he was growing up. It shaped who he became and how he saw his future. Aelin says that she's happy to let him swear it and explains that Maeve had several blood-sworn members in her court. Aelin would like to do that as well. But Aedion quietly reminds her that in Terrasen tradition, there was only one. Aelin replies, quote, things change. New traditions for a new court. You can swear it right now if you wish. Aelin knows that to rebuild Terrasen, things will have to change. She is not tied to the old traditions or the old ways. She wants to create a whole new court and do it her own way. The reality is that Terrasen is never going to be what it was, but it can be something new and maybe even better. Aedion says that he doesn't want to swear the blood oath until he sees Aelin crowned in front of the world, which Aelin thinks is very dramatic. Very drama. Aedion has a flair for the dramatic, actually, now that I'm thinking about it.
He is a drama king to his core.
Yeah.
A drama king to his core. Chapter 30 drops us into Dorian's POV. We are going to caveat covering this chapter by saying that yes, we will be breaking it down moment by moment for the Masterverse episode for this book, but for now we will focus just on what this chapter reveals for this series, not the Masterverse as a whole, because as you know, we do our Masterverse episodes separate, because some people haven't read all of the Masterverse yet, and we want you to hear it all in one go. Dorian is possessed by the Valg Prince, and he finds himself in a room described as cloaked in endless night. This entire room and chapter are heavily Valg coded. Dorian says that it doesn't matter that the room is dark. Quote, but they could see. They had always been able to see in the blackness, where the demon prince had come from. So little light existed that it had learned to hunt in the shadows. This honestly just gives me shivers because Dorian begins to use they to refer to himself and the Valg Prince as if they are one entity. It's a small way that shows us that Dorian is having a harder and harder time distinguishing himself and the Valg. But we are again reminded on how the Valg world works. There is no light, and the Valg learn to live and hunt in the shadows. In this room, there are crowns. These crowns are trophies. The Valg Prince inside Dorian likes to visit these crowns. Dorian also reveals that after Aelin didn't kill him, he let the Valg take over his body completely. While they're in the room, the Valg Prince speaks. His voice is described as, quote, a hissing, cold voice that came from between stars. This is one of the many times when the Valg aren't connected to just another world, but also characterized as celestial, star-like beings. The Valg Prince says that these crowns are crowns of conquered nations, and more will be added soon. Maybe even the crowns of other worlds too. We are not told how many crowns are in this room, which, let me tell you, is killing us. But what the Valg Prince reveals is always terrifying and interesting. Okay, the Valg have conquered many nations, that much we know. They use their power to suck the life and sunshine out of different lands and then leave it barren and empty. But the Valg Prince reveals that the Valg have their eyes set on bigger things. They want to conquer entire worlds. By the end of this series, we know the Valg and Maeve are considered world walkers, but this is one of the first hints at the Valg's greater plan. Dorian tells himself that he does not care and backs away into a pocket of darkness where the Valg prince can't reach him. The Valg laughs at him, calling him spineless, and blames Dorian for Sorsha being beheaded. Dorian tries to shut out the voice. We end this chapter with Dorian wishing Aelin had killed him. This is so sad.
Bro, it's like so rough.
Like, I want to shed tears.
Because again, like we've said this in every episode for Queen of Shadows, but Dorian is not using his own name in any of these chapters. So it's just him or he or the prince. So
Or
it's
they
even
now.
or they. Yeah, now it's they. It's not good. In chapter 31, we are back in Morath with our witches and a lead, who is also now considered a witch. Manon storms into Duke Parrington's war tent, demanding to know why the 13 are being kept from the Yellowlegs coven that's being used for Valg experiments. But she immediately stops when she sees Kaltain, who is standing in the center of the tent surrounded by a dark fire. Kaltain is using this dark fire to torture a young soldier. We covered this in world building, so we won't get too into it here, but this dark fire is called shadow fire. Parrington orders Manon to leave, but she refuses and keeps demanding answers. When Manon asks where this shadow fire came from, Kaltain explains that the shadow fire came from inside her. Quote, "From me, it has always been there, asleep, and now it has been awoken, shaped anew." And okay, this is what we couldn't get into in world building. This is just our theory, so do not come for us if you don't agree. So Kaltain says that she's always had fire inside her. Later, when she blows up Morath, she describes her fire as originally being a golden flame, meaning that her fire was originally very similar to Aelin's. We know from reading the entire series that Kaltain has had a word key inserted into her arm. Kaltain says here that the fire was awoken and shaped anew. We can assume that it was awoken and changed by the insertion of the word key, which is what allowed the Valg to possess her. This transformed her regular golden fire into shadow fire, which is a mix of her original fire and then whatever the Valg power / word key did to it. We lean toward Kaltain's fire being changed by the Valg, not the word key, since their power is described as darkness and shadow. Shadow plus fire equals shadow fire. This theory is strengthened by the fact that shadow fire is mostly a mind trick. The person it's being used on believes that they are being burned alive, but there are no burns or marks left on the skin. We know the Valg love to infiltrate their victims' minds, and Kaltain's shadow fire seems to be an extension of that. If this theory is true, though, then it points to how much the Valg power / possession can corrupt. It turned Kaltain's golden flames into something twisted and dark, which is very sad.
But Kaltain's character development, character arc in this series is really sad. I really wish that there would have been sorry, somebody's car outside is really going crazy, and I hate that. I don't know if you can hear that, but I really wish we would have gotten another Aelin and Kaltain reunion at some point. Because I feel as though they would have been besties after everything that has happened. But her arc is very sad. Anyways, this solidifies for Manon that Parrington is experimenting with some dark, freaky shit and using whoever he wants, including his own fucking soldiers, as test subjects. During this exchange, Kaltain keeps torturing the soldier with the shadow fire, but she seems completely detached from what she's doing. Parrington decides the experiment is over and snaps the soldier's neck, which kills him. This disturbs even Manon, who normally isn't super affected by violence, but the reason it bothers her is even more interesting. Quote, "But for a heartbeat, she felt warm, sticky blue blood on her hands, felt the hilt of her knife imprinted against her palm as she gripped it hard and slashed it across the throat of that kraken." I said it correct. Okay, thank God. Okay. Manon is bothered because seeing this violence makes her flash back to when she killed that kraken. As the story goes on and Manon becomes more self-aware, we see that she often flashes back to this moment. It's like she knows instinctually that something about this moment was wrong. Again, that kraken turns out to be Manon's half-sister, Rhiannon Kraken. She's the one who tries to warn Manon that they're being made into monsters.
Manon realizes that Parrington let her see this as a threat, a way to tell her to keep her mouth shut. Internally, Manon decides that she's going to report everything to her grandmother anyway, including how she's been kept from checking in on the Yellowlegs. Again, Manon demands to see the Yellowleg witches, but all that Parrington reveals is that the experiments were successful. Manon is furious at the way Parrington is speaking about the Yellowlegs because witches, despite their differences, they are all iron-teeth witches. They should not be treated like breeding stock or experiments. Parrington reminds Manon that he had originally requested Blackbeak witches for the experiment, and Manon refused to hand them over. Manon asks Parrington if this is punishment for that. Instead of answering, Parrington tells Manon that powerful Valg princes want to test themselves against the witches. It's even possible that they might attack the witches to weed out the weak ones. Manon sees this as a direct threat against her and the 13.
Even though she's furious that Parrington even dared threaten the witches, she tries to stay calm and be strategic. She changes the subject and asks Parrington what the fuck is going on beneath the mountains that surrounds Morath. Before he answers, we get a creepy-ass moment from Parrington. Quote, "The Duke studied her, and she met his gaze, met every inch of blackness within it, and found something slithering inside that had no place in this world." At this point in the story, we have a pretty good idea that there is a Valg inside Parrington, but this is just another moment that hints at that. Remember that the Valg inside Parrington is none other than fucking Erewhon, the one of one. The one of three, actually, the one of three, because there's the three brothers. But Manon sees the telltale signs of a Valg possession, even if she doesn't quite recognize exactly what that means. The Duke's gaze is filled with blackness, and she feels something inside of him that has no place in this world, which they don't. They need to go back to their home world. Parrington tells Manon that she doesn't want to know what's going on in the mountains, and that if she sends scouts in, they won't come out. Manon decides not to push it. Shocker. She'd rather Parrington keep underestimating how skilled and dangerous her shadows, aka Etta and Briar, really are. She asks what Parrington plans to do with Keltane's Shadowfire, and he reveals that he hopes Keltane can eventually master it to the point where she can use it to destroy entire enemy armies. The idea of a magic flame that causes unbearable pain without visible burns horrifies Manon almost as much as it kind of fascinates her.
But Manon picks up on what the Duke just revealed. She asks him if armies are gathering, and Parrington tells her that Manon's grandmother already knows what's up, but hasn't told Manon. Parrington reveals that the three High Witches have been secretly creating new weapons for the war effort. These weapons include the Witch Mirrors, which we see being used in Empire of Storms and Kingdom of Ash. Manon realizes the Duke is making all sorts of weapons and that Keltane is one of them too. In that moment, Manon realizes what this all really means. If the High Witches combined all their power, whatever weapon they create could devastate mortal armies. The humans would not stand a chance. And while Manon doesn't say this out loud or even internally, we get the sense that this is very unsettling to her. Manon leaves this meeting with Parrington and immediately orders the Blackbeaks to quietly strengthen security around the barracks and keep an eye out for threats. Alid wakes up while Manon and the 13 talk nearby. Where is Alid waking up? Not in a bed. Alid has tucked herself under Abraxos' wing because the night before, she felt like someone was waiting for her inside her room. Abraxos, our sweetie pie wyvern, let Alid sleep beside him for warmth and protection and hid her under his wing. Alid thinks that Abraxos' scent may be hiding her presence from the witches. Manon and the 13 discuss the Shadowfire and the danger that Parrington poses to the witches. Astern pushes Manon about how much longer they can obey Parrington before things snap. This is when Alid tries to quietly sneak away while the witches argue, but just as she's about to escape, Manon casually reveals that she knew Alid was there the entire time. Quote, "If you had any backbone, Alid, you would have stayed beside Abraxos until we left. Oops, Alid."
There's like so many moments where Alid thinks like she's like this smart girl, and Manon is literally like, not in my, stop right there, girl. Like, not in my world. Like, I don't know what the fuck you thought this was.
It's also like Alid has a chain, like chains on her ankles. Like, babe,
Yeah.
you're really noisy. Like, you
Yeah.
are noisy.
Like, where do you
You
think you're
can't be
going?
quiet.
You cannot be sneaking around this house, sister. Oh, but anyways, we start chapter 32 with the lead trying to explain herself. She tells Manon that someone was in her room, and that's how she ended up hiding with the Braxos. Asterin is immediately concerned about who was waiting for Alid, but Manon is more impressed, secretly, of course, that Alid trusted her instincts and chose to hide out. But Alid does have some blue blood after all, maybe. Manon explains that the Yellow Lakes Coven is being used to create demon offspring beneath the castle. She orders Alid to sneak into the chamber and report back on what's happening. Of course, this sends Alid into a panic, and she tells Manon she can't do that. Manon reminds her that she's part of the witches now, and technically under Manon's command. Manon threatens Alid with being handed over to a Valk husband if she betrays her. But because Manon is also slowly changing, she offers Alid protection by allowing her to stay in Manon's room instead of Alid's own room. She sends Alid away. Asterin is not a fan of Alid being used in this way, but Manon explains that Alid is the only person who can realistically get access to the chamber where the Yellow Legs are being held. The guards are blocking all other witches from entering. When Alid leaves, Manon reveals that she was actually the one hiding out in Alid's room, both as a test and to push her towards helping them. Sorrel brings up an important question. Should Alid still be considered human or part of the witches now? Manon insists none of this matters. What matters is that Alid is the only one who can carry out this task. Even though Manon knows the mission could kill Alid, she decides the risk is worth it because they need more information about what Parrington is up to.
We switch to Alid's POV, and our girl is crashing out. She cannot believe she's now become a spy for Manon, even if it's for her own survival and freedom. Alid is still trying to decide what's best for her. She hopes she can both figure out what's going on with the Yellow Legs, but also escape on the supply wagons. Alid is ultimately still watching out for herself. Manon lets Alid stay in her rooms. Even while she's supposedly asleep, Manon remains hyper aware of Alid's movements, scaring her whenever Alid tries to sneak around. And Alid is still pretty scared of Manon. Who wouldn't be? She notices Manon's scars and how strong she is. Why does she notice those things? Because Manon sleeps naked. Duh. Over the next 3 days, Alid works in the laundry and gathers info about the chamber. Eventually, she notices blood-soaked clothing from the chamber, which is being cleaned separately. But the blood isn't red, it's blue, confirming that witches are being hurt in some way in that chamber. Alid watches witch laundresses handle the linens and learns the routines surrounding the chamber. But still, Alid is clinging to the hope that she can escape. Oh my god, this quote kills me. Quote, "She was nobody and nothing and belonged to no one. But if she let Manon and the Blackbeaks think she accepted their claim on her, she might very well still get free once those wagons arrived. The Blackbeaks didn't care about her. Not really. Her heritage was convenient for them. She doubted they would notice when she vanished. She'd been a ghost for years now, anyway, her heart full of the forgotten dead." This breaks our heart for Alid. She has been alone for so long, feeling like she was nobody and that she had no one. It's part of the reason she has such a hard time accepting the protection that Manon and the Blackbeaks are offering her. Alid might have claimed that her blood runs blue, but she doesn't understand the loyalty that carries because Alid doesn't really understand what loyalty feels like. It's been so long since she's experienced it. She thinks she's just convenient for them and should still try to figure out how to escape. Alid doesn't even think that they'll notice when she's gone, which makes me so sad. She describes herself as being a ghost for years now. Alid sees herself as floating in and out of the Blackbeaks' lives because that's what she's been doing with everyone else's lives. All that Alid really feels like she has left are her forgotten dead. She doesn't see herself as being part of any unit.
But Alid still keeps an eye on the people who handle the Yellow Legs linens and eventually follows one of them to try to get into the chamber. Even though she's terrified of getting caught, Alid reminds herself that she survived way too much to give up now. She is a survivor. I'm a survivor. I'm not gonna give up. Okay, you get the point. While returning to Manon's tower, Alid finds Vernon cornering Kaltain and talking to her. Trigger warning for sexual assault. Please skip past this if you do not want to hear descriptions of sexual assault. We'll have timestamps in the show notes. I'll give you a second. Kaltain is Clearly and obviously being sexually assaulted by Vernon, he has Keltane up against the wall with her dress pulled to the side and her breast is nearly out. Literally, fuck him. It gives me like the creeps. It's disgusting. Despite being terrified, Alid steps in and protects Keltane by telling Vernon the wing leader sent for her. Vernon realizes Alid is fighting back and tells her, quote, "I was wondering when you'd show your fangs, Alid, or should I say your iron teeth." Alid realizes that Vernon has known the entire time about Alid having witch blood, but she stands her ground anyways because she is brave. She physically places herself between Vernon and Caltaine. There is something so poetic and beautiful about women protecting each other. Like, we love it. I was literally just telling Cami before this, like, when I've been on my period recently, I have been crying anytime I see like a woman supporting another one. Like, I don't know, like it just fills me with an oversensing, like, I don't know, like I'm just proud to be a woman. I love to be a woman. I want to be a woman in every single lifetime. Like, girlhood is the best hood. Okay.
Same. I would never want to be a man.
Never.
Never. But this is when Vernon says something that made our spidey senses tingle. Brooke and I were literally voice memoing about this back and forth. He looks at Alid and Caltaine and says, quote, "You two could be sisters." Alid does not react to this, but we do, because what exactly is he insinuating here? This comment from Vernon could mean a few things. It could just be that Alid and Caltaine are physically similar. We know that they both have dark hair, dark eyes, and pale skin. But he could also be insinuating that Caltaine has some witch blood, just like Alid. We know that Caltaine comes from a long line of powerful magic users, and that's the reason that the Duke was interested in using her and implanting the word key in her arm. But just because she has magic in her bloodline, it doesn't mean that she can't also have witch blood. He could also be insinuating that they're actually related, but we both feel like that's a little bit of a stretch. If Alid, however, this is a caveat because when we were doing this outline, I did spiral a little bit because if Alid and Aelin were related by blood, we could spiral further because Caltaine's power is fire, just like Aelin's, but they are not actually related by blood, so we cannot spiral further. Alid and Caltaine get away from Vernon. Caltaine is barely responsive. Alid asks where she can take Caltaine so she'll be safe. Alid sees a kernel of understanding inside Caltaine's expression, but then Caltaine just walks away. Alid is horrified. She goes to Manon's tower. Manon is there. This chapter ends with Alid delivering the mic-dropping line, quote, "I need you to get me some poison." Dun, dun, dun. And that's when this set of chapters ends.
I'm sorry. I just love Alid because she's just like this little woman, and she just be around here like bossing people around. Like, she literally got like the biggest man in this series, and I don't know. I just love her. And next, our favorite moments. These are moments in the set of chapters that we really just loved.
Okay, my first favorite moment is what Rowan tells Aelin. He says, quote, "You will make mistakes, you will make decisions, and sometimes you will regret those choices. Sometimes there won't be a right choice, just the best of several bad options. I don't need to tell you that you can do this. You know you can. I wouldn't have sworn the blood oath to you if I didn't think you could." I love this because, and we said this in foreshadowing and analysis, but he is just giving her the truth, but he puts it like so plainly and honestly for her. And the truth is that life is hard. You will fuck up. Sometimes there's no right choice, and you just have to pick up and keep moving. And while all of those things are true, the way that Rowan ends it is even better because he says, "I don't need to tell you that you can do this. You know you can. I wouldn't have sworn the oath to you if I didn't think you could." And sometimes that's all we need to hear. We need to hear that people still believe in us, even when we make mistakes or when we make the wrong choice. And that's what Rowan offers Aelin here. And I love that. I also, not as serious, I also really love the whole like lingerie situation with Aelin and Rowan. My voice is like giving out. We've been talking for almost 2 hours, guys. But there are so many moments in this book and in this series that are on like so intense, so serious. But little moments like that really bring like some levity to the situation. And I think it's also, I love when this happens in stories, like especially fantasy books. But it is also a really nice reminder that like even in the middle of like war and chaos, which Rowan and Aelin are both in the middle of that, people be horny. Okay? People do. It's natural. It's okay, guys.
I don't blame them, honestly. Like, you never know when the world's gonna end. Like, you just never know.
Literally.
Like,
If you have the option to bang one out, always bang one out.
yes, always. You have
Life
to.
motto. Life
You
motto
s-
from
you
Bookish
s-
Realms.
no, literally. You simply must. Like, you got to. Oh my goodness. Okay, I have two favorite moments. Of course I do. But my first favorite moment is between Aelin and Rowan as like they're like reuniting initially. Rowan says to her, "But you're not hurt," he said softly. "You're safe." She nodded again and buried her face in his chest. "I thought I gave you an order to stay in Wendelin." "I had my reasons, best spoken somewhere secret or secure," he said onto her hood. "Your friends at the fortress say hello, by the way. I think they miss having an extra scullery maid, especially Luca, especially in the mornings." This is one of my favorite moments because kind of like we touched on earlier, I feel like these moments between Rowan and Aelin, like you see like these like intense moments where like they're like really going heart to heart and then you see like a quick little banter. And I just think it's really cute and I feel like it like defines their relationship. Like I feel like that's how their relationship is. And I just think it is so adorable. Like they haven't seen each other for weeks. Like they are just excited to see each other. And I'm happy that they just are back. Like I'm happy Rowan's back, basically. That's really why I did this because I think they're so cute. My second favorite moment. This is like after Aelin and Adian are making breakfast together, and Aelin is telling Adian that he can still take the blood oath, and Ren can too. Um, and she was saying like, "I won't be upset if you don't want to," and then Adian saying like, "Yeah, in Terrasen there was only one," and Aelin's like, "Things can change, new traditions for a new court. You can swear it right now if you want to." I don't know. This is one of my favorite moments because I feel like as things like change and as people like grow and like as traditions like move on, it is really fun to like see traditions like evolve, right? And I think that it's really interesting because this is who Aelin is, right? Aelin wants to make the world a better place. Like even though she wants to be in charge, like she wants to be the queen, like she wants to bring her own little flair to being queen. Like she doesn't want to do what everybody else has been doing in the past. And I just like really relate to that because I'd be trying to live my life with like yeah, you don't want to reinvent the wheel, but also like you got to add your own little flair to life, right? And even with like family traditions that we have in our family, like I feel like they've changed from when I was younger to now because I'm not a baby anymore. I am a grown woman. So I just feel like that is like something that is important in life, you know? I don't fucking know. There was really no thoughts behind these, really. They were just like, oh, these are cute moments. And I like put them in here. But anyways, lastly, our final thoughts.
First, my first final thought is that I am loving that Keltane is fully back in our story. We've said this a million times. Her story is so important to us. And while it is really sad, the way that she goes, the way that everything happens to her, I do love revisiting the moments we get with her in this book because we now obviously have read the series more than once. We know that the role that Keltane ends up playing just makes this reread so special because she plays such a huge role. And when you first read the series, you don't realize that until the end, obviously, or until this book. But I also love that Rowan is back, and I love the way that the dynamic between Aelin and Rowan is changing. They did have like some tense slash, you could say, potentially romantic moments in Air of Fire, but they really start to ramp up in this book, and it's fun to get both of their POVs because they're both trying like so hard to hold back and like not cross a line, but they're also like completely unable to keep from doing so. And I love that tension. I've said this before like a million times, but I prefer the tension and the buildup so much more than any sex scene. And I stand 10 toes down on that.
No,
It's just like
actually the
having a
same.
crush is so fun. Like,
Mhm.
it's so much fun than like, you know, it's
Yeah.
just fun.
I love the chase. I don't know about the catch,
Hmm.
but I love the chase, you know? That's why I'm still single now, but anyways.
Iconic. I love the chase. I don't know about the catch.
Yeah. Because I'm the catch, baby. I'm not catching anybody. I just like, I like a little challenge every so often. But anyways, I love this set of chapters. But like, let's be real. What set of chapters do I not love? But I also forgot like how good the banter between Rowan and Aelin is. And I thought that like we mentioned this somewhere in the analysis and foreshadowing. But when I tell you, I was cracking the fuck up when Aelin asked Rowan, "When you shift, will your hawk form be plucked?" After she saw his hair was God. I was cracking up. Like, it is just hilarious. And they just like continue to crack me up. Like, their moments are like so cute, but then they also give you just like a fun little moment. And I also just really love the portrayal of Adian and Aylin's relationship in this set of chapters. Obviously, there is like harm that is done after Adian finds out about the blood oath and like the things that they say to each other. But since their relationship is basically that of a sibling, they really come back together in the most sibling way ever, which is like over breakfast. And they kind of just like, they're like, all right, testing the fire, like, you still mad? I'm not mad. Okay. Because honestly, that is just like so true with a sibling relationship. Like, I've said some probably foul, fucked up shit to my siblings. Some things I'm probably not proud of. But guess what? We like, you like meet each other somewhere in the house, some way, somehow, and you're like, hey, so I saw this and it, and then you're like, all right. And then, I don't know. That's just how it is. Like, that's just how it happens. Because we love our siblings. Well, I love my siblings. I know Cami does too. But yeah, but I just think I just like the portrayal of that, like, little relationship there, even though Adian does take lots of L's in this book. But anyways, that wraps up our deep dives for chapters 28 through 32 for Queen of Shadows. We hope you enjoyed our analysis and theories. You better have. But don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok, where our handle is @BookishMomsPod.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on these chapters, so drop us a comment or send us a message. Also, leave us a rating if you liked what you heard. It really helps us out.
Join us next week when we continue our Queen of Shadows deep dives with chapters 33 through 40. Until then, keep reading, assassins.
Bye!